Hey guys, welcome back to the ocean. Theory Chum here, and today we're doing something a little bit different than what's normally on the channel. Today we're going to power scale. That's right, we're going to be comparing two verses against each other. These verses being Poppy Playtime, being represented by the prototype, and then Five Nights at Freddy's being represented by the Mimic. This had an animated battle came out where they put out that they didn't do research and it was purely for entertainment. It was a really cool battle and that was great. People on Twitter took it to heart and they're like, man, this is what it is. And kudos to the person who made the video. It's going to be in the description right now. I believe their name is Moto, something like that. Kudos to them for making the video, and they even were honest and put in there that they didn't research it. But I did. I looked at their armor, their strengths, their weaknesses, their durabilities, and we're going to find out who would win in a death battle. So, if you guys are liking floating on in the ocean, go ahead and let me know. Leave your thoughts down in the comments about being excited for this video. Like the video, please. So, imagine you're trapped in a dark industrial building. Someone is chasing you. It knows your voice, it knows your movements. Seems like it's running as fast as a car. That is the Mimic. But then as soon as you're running, the ceiling explodes. Boom! And a giant metal nightmare with spider legs comes crashing in. That is the prototype. So today I'm going to answer the question everybody's been arguing and fighting over. If these two horror monsters fought, who would actually win? I ran the numbers using canon feats only, not continual feats, canon in series. And I think you guys are going to be turned up over the result of this either way. So, a little bit of backstory into this. If you're new to the channel, I am a power scaler. I have been doing this longer than I've been in FNAF. I want to say about 12 or 13 years now. I have worked my way up to being a head admin for groups. I have professionally competed, earning a semi-finalist placement in actual tournament. And really, I've done it as I do things as a judge for these people. I really have a great time doing it. It's something I'm really passionate about. So whenever I saw everyone on Twitter arguing over the video on who would win or not, or if the Mimic would have won, which, spoiler alert, that's who wins in the video. The animated video. Everyone got upset, so I was like, man, I can do the research and find this answer, right? So, let's go ahead and start. The Mimic is one of the most terrifying creations in Five Nights at Freddy's. It was originally built to copy human behavior and be a toy for Edwin's son David, but it got infected and slowly learned something much worse: how to hunt. The Mimic is able to copy voices, movements, and manipulate its victims. This is called adaptation. So think of like the Terminator, but before it just shot you, it learned how to be you. And in this fight, we're going to find out that the Mimic's biggest advantage is going to be speed. So let's go ahead and look at this speed count. In the parachute ending, the Mimic catches up to a moving van. To understand what that means, we can estimate the speed using real vehicle data. Typical road speeds in scenes like this range from 40 to 55 miles per hour. We can tell this and apply this assumption, which of course we have to make assumptions because the games and series don't outright say it, so we have to use context and assumptions to be able to come to some kind of baseline, which you'll notice a lot of things I'm going to give you are in a range. That's going to be from a low range to the high range. So whenever we're looking at that, and we convert this into metric units because we're going to be dealing... The prototype and the Mimic aren't going to be a mile apart if they're fighting, so MPH is going to be hard to tell. So we're going to go by meters per second. 40 to 55 miles per hour roughly translates to 18 to 25 meters per second. For comparison, an Olympic sprinter like Usain Bolt can run at about 12 meters a second. So the Mimic moving at 18 to 25 meters a second means it can roughly run about twice as fast as the fastest human alive. This thing could outrun people even if they had a head start and a Red Bull running for a straight line with no environmental and it's actually wanting to get to its target. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Mimic's durability. We can estimate the energy of this crash, and this is going to be, from what I found, the highest durability setting existing is going to be this crash, and that's going to be because of the vehicular kinetic energy, the roll, the stuff like that. So we're going to calculate the energy of the crash as it's shown on screen. Just to be clear, this doesn't mean that the Mimic took the brunt, all of this force, all of this energy to its face. It doesn't mean it took all of it, because in a crash, that force is dispersed among different things, such as the vehicle's body, its chassis, its the surroundings. It's given into even the rotation, the rolling of the vehicle is taking force away from that. So the Mimic is not going to be feeling or existing or surviving the whole force. But being able to get the whole force, we can get a roundabout ballpark of what the Mimic can survive. So here, kinetic energy, it equals half of the mass times velocity squared, where the M is vehicle mass and V is velocity. Typical vans weigh about 2,000 kilograms, and if the van is moving at about 20 meters a second, around 45 miles per hour, this is the low end, we're going to end up with kinetic energy about 400,000 joules, or 400 kilojoules of impact. That's similar to getting hit by a small car drilling you at highway speed. And the Mimic keeps going after this. So its durability clearly scales to being smashed by a small car. I wouldn't say maybe like at the full force of a highway, but at the point of dealing with humanoid animatronics, getting hit by a car is getting hit by a car. Now, in Tales of the Pizzaplex and Ruin and the games, the Mimic shows pretty great physical brute strength. It can tear apart construction workers by the limbs, it can dismantle animatronic endoskeletons, and it can rip the limbs off. Breaking steel joints requires thousands of newtons of force. This is going to put the Mimic's strength range between 1 to 2 tons. And that's not like super high if you're going to go look at like anime feats or comic feats, but for something that looks like a possessed coat rack, it's yeah, that's pretty impressive. With all of that being said, go ahead and let me know now in the comments, is there anything you think is a stronger or a better feat showing for the Mimic? Because now, we're going to talk about Experiment 1006, the prototype. If the Mimic is like a speed boxer with that stealth effect, the prototype is a walking kaiju. It's massive compared to the Mimic. Estimating it using the fan sites and people saying that Huggy Wuggy is about 18 feet tall, which I don't find a reason to argue that. We're going to put the prototype between 18.5 to 21 feet tall, compared to right here whenever he's crouched, and we do give like a little bit of leeway because he's crouched, but we get a pretty solid scaling with him and Huggy Wuggy right here. So think about like if a forklift and Spider-Man had a villain for a baby. We got the prototype. Now, where the prototype gets its advantages is going to be in 2 categories here. It's going to be its strength and its durability. For its strength, it's shown to impale and lift these large bodies, these large creatures. It's able to smash through reinforced structures like the train ceiling or these other walls. And it's able to break through the moving train ceiling. Breaking steel support requires a lot of force. This is going to put the prototype into the multi-ton strength range. So, if the Mimic fights like Batman, the prototype is fighting like the Hulk after he chugged a barrel of high-octane monster. And one of the biggest durability feats is going to be the prototype surviving the destruction of the train wreck. Now, before we get into this, there's been a lot of confusion I've seen on Twitter. There needs to be an understanding that there's a difference between the epicenter of a blast and the resulting effects of the blast. Now, you can say, oh, the mimic survived the kinetic force of the train wreck, which is something we are going to get into, and that would be an accurate statement. You would be able to make that statement logically. But to say that the mimic survived the explosion, we don't know that. We don't know where the explosion happened. We don't know where the epicenter was. And this is actually going to be in comparison to the mimic. So whenever Edwin was working on the mimic and then there was an explosion that took out the wall of the house, which we are going to scale this, that explosion came from the mimic. It happened while he was working on the mimic. So that is the epicenter. The prototype, we don't see what happens because the main character jumps off the train and isn't looking that way. So for all we know, the prototype comes, takes the force of the train wreck, but he's not in the epicenter of the blast. He is not taking the full-on force of that explosion. So we cannot say he's tanking the force of the explosion. That is an unsubstantiated claim. What we can say is that he tanked the strike of the train. We're going to go ahead and get through that. I just gotta, give me 1 second, I gotta pull it up. It was a completely different count. Okay. Sorry for the wait here. Where'd it go? All right. So the train feat, as I said, its pure kinetic energy is lower than what the fireball, the display, the after effect of the wreck actually looks. Now, I calced this as a moving cable car because in Chapter 3, Elliot's Express is described as a cable car. So we're going to get about 26 kilojoules to 125 kilojoules there. The midpoint is actually going to come around 58 kilojoules. That is the impact energy of the vehicle itself, right? So real aerial train-based systems can run about 12 meters per second, while small cabins commonly operate about 5 to 6 meters per second, with one of the documented 8-passenger gondola weighing about 445 kilograms empty and 1,060 kilograms with passengers. You are going to see this up on screen right now where I pulled my information. This is from Setabanen, a source information where they looked up about train cars, I guess. This is one of their train cars they talked about. So for the train car itself, we're going to give a fair calc range. The low is going to be about 1,060 kilograms of weight at 7 meters a second of movement, and the high is going to be about 25,000 kilograms of weight at 10 meters a second. Now, these are inferred from this scene. I measured the walls, I measured the outside of the train walls, the tunnel that they're in, the distance apart, the shining of the lights passing whenever you're going through the train cars, and then the double doors at the end. However, I also had to use real life gondola data, and the fact that the in-game cabin is bigger than one of the pods at a ski resort. So again, you have to understand these are using assumptions to try to get to the best baseline comparison. I understand people are going to be like, well, you can't know if he didn't survive the explosion. We can't say that because we didn't see it. We don't see him in the epicenter. We don't see him taking the blast. That doesn't happen. We see him get up after the after effects. Yes. So going back into this, we have the kinetic energy count, which kinetic energy is half of the mass times volume squared. The low end is, like I said earlier, going to be about 25, almost 26 kilojoules of energy, and then the high end is going to come out with about 125. If you're talking about TNT explosive, that's going to be about 0.03 of a kilogram of TNT. So, looking at that, we don't even have to take the high number here. We can take the 58 kilojoules of impact energy. Now, this is only the impact itself. This doesn't mean the additional fire that's coming out, debris, or structural collapse, which the prototype continues functioning afterwards. So the overall durability here is really, really high. So let's go ahead and compare these numbers. In speed, the Mimic moves at about 18 to 25 meters a second, while a prototype moves only about 6 to 10 meters a second. So the Mimic is roughly 2 to 3 times faster than what we've seen in terms of raw movement. If it were a race, the Mimic would be finished before the prototype got to the first relay. We're going to look at strength comparison, which is going to tell a vastly different story. The Mimic strength is about 1 to 2 tons, while the prototype strength is looking at multi-tons, 2, 3 tons, even higher. And the prototype also has a longer limb and greater reach, reaching about 5 to 6 meter reach compared to the 1 to 2 meter reach of the Mimic. And whenever you're coming into close combat, especially with someone who's quicker than you, that reach advantage is huge. We're going to look at the intelligence. The Mimic is able to copy its victims, their movements. It's able to learn and adapt to situations. The prototype is smart enough to ambush, collect parts, trick people by hiding in the corner away, hiding in the blind spot of a camera. So the Mimic is essentially a learning AI hunter, while the prototype is really a manipulative, try to keep everybody safe kind of person. So in the fields of intelligence, I'm going to rank them both as intelligent, but explicitly for combat, I'm going to have to give it to the Mimic because of adaptation. So what happens if these two actually fight? Hold on, guys. I'm recording, baby. What you want? So what happens if these two actually fight, right? The Mimic is going to come in, he's going to be aggressive, he's going to be quick, he's going to hit first, he's going to dart around the prototype, high wave speeds, landing quick strikes, trying to target and find those weak points while it's adapting to the situation. The prototype is going to swing its massive limbs through the air, smashing walls, smashing machineries, and the Mimic's going to be able to avoid a few of those attacks. But here's the underlying problem. The prototype only needs one grab. It has the force to immediately end the Mimic. Its output force is stronger than what the Mimic is shown to retain. If those giant metal limbs catch the Mimic, the fight ends extremely quickly. So let's go ahead and look at the scoreboard. Speed goes to the Mimic, intelligence goes to the Mimic, strength, reach, and durability all go to the prototype. So while the Mimic is smarter and faster, the prototype is bigger, stronger, harder to destroy. So in most fights, the Mimic eventually gets caught. Out of 10 battles, which is how we rate and judge scaling and debates and stuff, it would be which character would win the most out of 10 fights. The Mimic would probably win 3 out of 10, while the prototype would win the other 7. But of course, in horror, the only rule is that no monster ever stays dead, so who knows what the actual end limit to destroy these guys could be. What do you think? Could the Mimic outsmart the prototype? Or would the prototype crush it every time? Let me know in the comments. Until then, thank you for floating in the ocean. Make sure to hit that like button and swim your finger on over to the subscribe button. Hope to see you next time. Keep floating in the ocean.